What's up everyone, it's the Munch and welcome to a special Pokemon Sun and Moon video. Today we are finally going to be going after all of the Zygarde Cells and Cores located throughout the Alola region. This is of course the only way to get Zygarde's complete form, the 100% Zygarde, in your Sun and Moon game. Before we get started, there's a couple of things to note, and first off is that certain cells can only be found during the day or nighttime, so depending on which version you're playing, in Pokemon Sun it is going to be daytime from the hours 6 to 18 or 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. it will be nighttime, and of course in Pokemon Moon it's the reverse, so from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. it'll be nighttime and vice versa. But I should also note that you can switch the time by heading to the alternate world at the altar of the Sun or Moon. You can actually find a wormhole there that is open during certain times, so I believe if you've got Solgaleo in your party it'll be open at night, and if you've got Lunala in your party it'll be open during the day, at which point you can go through the portal and change AM to PM or PM to AM. Now with that said, some Zygarde cells are there regardless of what time of day it is, but since I'm playing Pokemon Sun and it's mostly daytime here, I'm gonna save all of the Zygarde cells you can get at nighttime for the end of the guide. So if you're playing Pokemon Moon and want to follow this guide along exactly, I'd recommend switching it to daytime or playing at night and then following through. One more thing to note is some of these cells will require certain Poke-Rides in order to get, and some of them are only available in the post-game, so I'd recommend you at least become the champion of Alola before taking on this quest, as I've done myself. So without further ado, let's get to this guide. So our first stop is going to be in Hau'oli City, and we're actually going to be paying a visit to Captain Illima's house, which is located right over here, and if you head to the left side of his house past his mom and Machamp, we can actually find the first Zygarde cell. Now let's head back to Route 1, and this is actually a cell you can only find during the daytime, our first day exclusive cell, but if we head a little bit further down the path here on Route 1, past this little youngster, we'll notice our second Zygarde cell right in the corner. Now this is not the only Zygarde cell on Route 1, as we've got another one also found exclusively in the daytime here, and we're going to need the Tauros ride to smash through those rocks and head a little bit down a couple of ledges here. If we head down one more ledge, you will notice the Zygarde cell hiding under the tree. Now just south of the player's house is of course Professor Kukui's lab, but did you know that there's a little Zygarde cell hiding right in the corner of it? And right after this repel runs out, we can pick up our next cell. Now moving on from Route 1, our next cell can be found at the hotel in Route 2, and if you head past all the rooms to the corner here, we can find another one. Of course, just to the right of this hotel, we can find the Hau'oli Cemetery, and although this one isn't exclusively found at nighttime, I kind of forgot about it until later, but right in front of this bush we can find our next Zygarde cell. Now there's one more cell on Route 2, and more specifically in the Verdant Cavern, which is of course where we took on the first trial of this game, and if we head all the way to the back of this place, you will notice the Zygarde cell glimmering in the corner there. We've just gotta run past this Pokemon, which proved to be kind of impossible, but here's our next cell. And moving along to Route 3, I believe we've got 3 cells to find here, and the first one is going to be right past the Melemele Meadow, found exclusively during the daytime. It's going to be right by the mountainside. And just a little further down that path, at any time of day, you will find the next Zygarde cell tucked away in the corner under this tree. Now let's backtrack a bit and head into the Melemele Meadow, and there's actually a secret area hidden amongst the yellow flowers you may not have noticed before that will lead you to the Seaward Cave, and if you head all the way down the Seaward Cave, you'll reach a new area called Kalai Bay, where we can find our next Zygarde cell. Now there are a couple of more cells still here on Melemele Island, but for now we're going to be moving right along to Akala, and specifically to He City, where we can head into the Tide Song Hotel for our next cell. Located in the very back corner past that janitor and nice hula dancer, we've got another cell. And just outside of the Tide Song Hotel, we can access Route 4, which is probably the first cell most of you guys got, since this is around the time when you first get the Zygarde Cube, but in case you somehow missed it, here is the next cell. Now we're heading into the Paniola Ranch, where we can find the next daytime exclusive cell. You might have noticed it over there, I almost went past it, but it is right in the corner of these fences. And also found exclusively in the daytime in the Royal Avenue, right in front of the Thrifty Mega Mart, you will find the next cell pretending it's a parked car. head past the thrifty Mega Mart and you will reach Route 7 where we can find our next cell. You will need some kind of surfing poke ride for this. I love surfing on Sharpedo, so of course I'm going to be using that. And of course go right past it because you can notice our next cell is right on the beachfront here by these rocks. And if we backtrack a little bit, we can of course reach the Wela Volcano Park right in front of where we took on Kiawe's fire trial. If you head a little further down the path, you will notice the next cell right on the volcano. Now moving on to Route 8, and this is another one that is pretty hard to miss, but right by this mysterious square lab here, we can find another Zygarde cell. And only in the daytime, if we head further down Route 8, past this Pokemon Center, we will find our next Zygarde cell right by this rock. Now of course Route 8 is also the home to the Lush Jungle, the site of Captain Mallow's trial, and this is where we'll find our next Zygarde cell. It's a little bit farther away than usual, but if you head to the right, you'll eventually run into a boulder we can push with the Machamp Poke Ride, and if we push that all the way down, we can head into a cave where we will finally find our next Zygarde cell. Anyway, back outside of the Lush Jungle we go, and straight to the south we will find this little area. Careful of the Diglets that might come out of those caves, but if we head past them, we can find our next Zygarde cell right here. So let's backtrack to the Hano Grand Resort located to the right of Hehe City, and if we head down to the beach, we can find our next Zygarde cell, chilling under this umbrella, thinking it's trying to get a tan or something, but a little further down the beach, only during the daytime, we can actually find another cell very nearby under this lifeguard post. On the way to Coney City, we've got to head through the Diglett's Tunnel, and near the exit of the tunnel, we can actually find another cell tucked away in the darkness. Now we've got one more cell for Akala Island, actually here in the outskirts. If you head down south from the ruins of Tapu Lele, you can find another easy cell. Now that does it for Akala for now, so let's head over to Mali City in Ula'ula Island, and during the daytime we can find an easy cell in between these two trucks. Right by it is the entrance to the Mali Garden, where we can find our next Zygarde cell. It's tucked away all the way in the back corner of the garden, but make your way past these winding, twisting bridges and stuff, and hopefully don't run into any wild Pokemon like I did, and eventually you will find your way to the next cell. There's one more here in Mali City, more specifically to the north in the Mali City Outer Cape, found exclusively in the daytime right by the waste processing plant, and the man that will teach you how to throw your Pokeball fancy, we can find our next cell. And also during the daytime, if we run past all those annoying Fearow trees, we can find another Zygarde cell on Route 10 by the Ace Trainer. Now the cells in the observatory and Route 11 can only be found at nighttime, so we're gonna skip over them for now and head to Route 12 where we need the Mudsdale ride for once, and right past that first section of rocky terrain. It's a little bit hard to spot, but there is the first Zygarde cell. The first one for this route, I mean, because a little bit further down the path past the two Punk trainers, who I always confuse for Team Skull Grunts, we can actually find another Zygarde cell. And that's not all, because a little bit further down the path we can find a small area called the Secluded Shore, which is actually where we can find another Zygarde cell exclusively during the daytime off in the left corner. And believe it or not, there's still one more cell here on Route 12, so if we backtrack on up to Blush Mountain right by the geothermal plant, we can find our final cell for Route 12. So moving on to Route 13, right in front of the Oasis and tucked away behind this trailer home, we can find another cell. Also here on Route 13, we can get access to the Haina Desert, where we can find two Zygarde cells, regardless of what time it is, but they're a little bit difficult to get because this place is actually kind of a maze, so follow carefully along what I'm doing here, but head up north from the first area of the desert, and you will find yourself in this area with a couple of big rock formations in the center, and if we head to the right of this area, we'll run into a strange man right by some plants, where we can find our next Zygarde cell. There's still one more here though, so head up north from this area with the plant, and we will run into this rocky terrain where we want to head to the left, and that's going to lead us over to another area with rocky terrain where we finally want to head up north to make it to Tapu Bulu's Shrine, or the Ruins of Abundance, where you will find yet another Zygarde cell. Thank goodness that's it for this desert though, because I get so lost in there. But now we're gonna head off to the Tapu village, where we can find a Zygarde cell right in front of the Pokemon Center by the fence. And if we head a little bit further down, we can make it to the route with the black sand, where of course Captain Acerola's trial took place, and tucked away in the corner is another one. So back to Tapu Village we go, and this time we're gonna head on up to Mount Lanakila. Like I mentioned, I'd recommend you are in the post-game at this point, so you should have access to all of these areas. But if we take the lift on up to the quote-unquote Victory Road, a little ways down the path past the first patch of grass, we can actually find a Zygarde cell by this rock. And all the way at the top of the mountain, right before heading up to the Pokemon League, we can find another cell here in the corner. Now let's trek back down the mountain and to the Tapu village, because we're proceeding onwards to Route 15, and there's actually a Zygarde cell over in the Aether house there, but we're gonna go back for it in just a second because we can find another one at the beach here. And like I mentioned, there's also one in the Aether house, so let's head in here. And in the room on the left side, and exclusively in the daytime, we can find another cell here in the corner of this kid's playroom. Now surf or fly your way over to Route 16, and right by the Pokemon Center, only in the daytime, we will find another Zygarde cell. And if we head past the Pokemon Center here, we can find the third meadow, the Ula'ula meadow, and already we can spot a Zygarde cell right on the plank bridge. And heading further down into the meadow, if we take a right before heading to Route 17, you can actually make it to this little path leading up to the altar of the sun or moon, I believe, and this is where we'll find yet another cell. And now we're ready to head on to Route 17, the route where it never stops raining, and over in this cliffside area up here, we can find our next Zygarde cell. We just gotta make our way past a couple of Tauros rocks. I believe we do need the Tauros ride to get to it, or actually not. I guess we can run around the rocks instead, hop down a couple of ledges, and there is our next cell. And the next one is actually going to be super nearby, so let's hop down a couple of more ledges, and right before the entrance to Po Town, by this Skull Girl here, we can find another Zygarde cell. I just noticed these Skull Grunts stay here forever, by the way. Usually the evil team disbands once you finish the game, but I guess not Team Skull. They live on forever, and speaking of Team Skull, let's head into their town, also known as Po Town, where we can get our next Zygarde cell exclusively during the daytime. To the right of the mansion, we can find this yellow truck and another cell. And that is actually gonna do it for Ula'ula Island for now, so let's head to the final island, the island of Poni, and here in the Seafolk Village we can actually find two Zygarde cells, starting off with this one here in the construction. And we can find another one a little further down the path, in the restaurant actually, where we met up with Looker once before. If we head over to some of the tables, you will notice right under it is another Zygarde cell. Now moving on to the Poni Wilds, our first cell here can be found on the beachfront, right between these two rocks. It is yet another one. And over on the grassy side, right before you leave this area, make sure to grab this other Zygarde cell up on the ledge. Now that one is found exclusively during the daytime, and these next two will also only be found during the day. In the ancient Poni path, right next to Hapu's grandma's house by the well, you will find one there, and right where her grandma hid during that one story cutscene, we can see yet another cell. Pretty hard to miss those as long as it's daytime. But that's not all, as we have another daytime exclusive cell here on the Poni Breaker Coast. A little bit further down the path around this geyser, we can find another cell. And even a little bit further down, we can find the Ruins of Hope, the home of Tapu Fini, and as you can see right by the entrance is another cell. Jeez Louise, I have said cell quite a lot of times already, but we're not done yet, and now we head into the true victory road of this game, the vast Poni Canyon, and right by the exit, if you didn't push this boulder away, you might not have noticed, but there's a cell hiding behind it. There are actually 4 cells total here in the vast Poni Canyon, so progress through the area as normal, and eventually when you get past the tree and into this cavern, you will notice the next cell right in the corner behind this rock. And another pretty hard to miss one right past the bridge where Lily got attacked by Murkrows. If we head into this cave, similarly we can find this one right on the path here. Just watch out for those Alolan Dug trio and you can get yourself another Zygarde cell. And just past that one, we can find a pretty complex boulder puzzle that you've got to push away with the Machamp ride, but once you've cleared those out of the way, you can head outside to the final Zygarde cell of the vast Poni Canyon, right past this patch of grass. And like I said, that is it for the canyon, so let's backtrack a bit to the Pony Breaker Coast. And you might not have noticed this area over here because it is actually exclusive to the post-game, but if we head on over here, we can find the Pony Grove, where we can find yet another Zygarde cell. And that's not the only one here, because if we head further down the path, right before the exit to the Pony Plains, past that Ace Trainer there, and in the corner, we can find another cell. And that means we can move on to the Pony Plains now, which is the home to quite a number of cells, and the first one should be right in plain sight, only in the daytime though. You can already see it there, right in the middle of the plains. Now this is totally unrelated, but while looking for the next cell, I actually ran into my first ever shiny Pokemon of Sun and Moon, a wild Cottony nonetheless, just after completing the National Dex last episode and getting the shiny charm from the Game Freak offices. Already I've run into a wild shiny Pokemon, which is just insane, my first ever shiny of Sun and Moon. But getting back to the quest, I was actually trying to make my way up to this rocky area of the Pony Plains, and if we head all the way up and around down a couple of ledges, we can find yet another Zygarde cell. Now that's it for the plains, so let's head to the final meadow of the game, the Pony Meadow, and if we head all the way on up and to the back where we can climb over these vines and stuff, you can notice the cell already there, but you've got to walk all the way around and down the ledges in order to pick it up. And if we walk around one more time, we can actually head even further into the meadow to a secret cave here where we can find a Zygarde cell exclusively during the daytime, but we've got to gallop quite a ways away with the Mudsdale ride there, past a little bit of rocky terrain, and right at the entrance to an even deeper cave, only during the daytime, we can find another cell. There are a couple of more cells in there, but one of them is found only at nighttime, so we'll be back soon enough. Which means we're moving along to the Pony Coast, one of the final areas in the game, and you will definitely need the power of Tauros to smash away a rock there, and behind it we can find another Zygarde cell. And there's another one actually very close by if we head a little bit further down the Pony Coast. Be sure not to run into any Alolan Dugtrios like I did there, and we can find a soft sand as well as a Zygarde cell. Now we've reached the final area of the game, the Pony Gauntlet, and just past Captain Mina at the entrance here, we can find another cell. And finally, at the exit, right by the battle tree, across another bridge, and actually on the bridge, we can find one more Zygarde cell. And that does it for all the cells here on Pony Island, but there is of course one more island in Alola, the man-made island, also known as the Aether Paradise. So we're gonna head down the elevator all the way to where the labs of Aether are located. Now of course you would have visited this area during the story of the game, but just in case you didn't walk all the way down this hallway, at the very end in front of the lab, you can find another cell. And there's still a couple of more cells to find here in the Aether Paradise, so back to the entrance we go, and to the back area if we head to the right and see just how much money the Aether Paradise has got with all those solar panels, but we can find another cell. And it is getting pretty dark in my game now, as you can see, but thankfully it is still considered daytime because this is the final day exclusive cell that we can find. To the left of Madame Lucamine's mansion, we can find yet another one. And that's not all, because if we actually head inside of the manor itself, on the right side by this little desk or nightstand kind of thing, we can find another Zygarde cell under it. And that is actually it for every single cell we can find either during the daytime or non-time specific, so I think it's about time we take a little nap and wait until it's nighttime. And as you can see, it is now nighttime, so let's begin the hunt for all of the night exclusive Zygarde cells. I think we've got about a quarter of them still to go, and the first one is here in the Aether Paradise entrance, over on the left side at this little bridge. We can find it. Now let's head back to Pony Island. If you remember, at the deepest part of the Pony Meadow, we found the Resolution Cave, and there's actually a cave even further deeper in there where we can find another Zygarde cell exclusively at nighttime. And there's actually one more cell in here that we didn't pick up earlier, but you may recognize this cave as actually the one where Zygarde was located in Pokemon X and Y, and right where Zygarde was, we can find another cell. That's not all for Poni Island though, because right outside of the meadow here in the Poni Plains, we can find yet another cell here in the corner. And back at the Poni Wilds, if you come back here at nighttime, we can find another cell right by the trainer tip sign. Continuing our night hunt right outside the entrance to the Ruins of Hope, we can find another cell behind the Tiki Head. Is that a Tiki Head? I don't really know, but our final nighttime cell on Poni Island is going to be right before the entrance to the vast Poni Canyon, and it is right in front of this thing. Boy, I am getting a little tired if you can't tell, but we're finally backtracking to Ula'ula Island and Route 14 with the black sand. Right behind this fisherman, we can find another cell. And if we head further back to Route 13, more specifically to the hotel, you will notice another cell tucked away in the corner. Remember the secluded shore where we found a cell to the left side in the day? Well, at nighttime we can find another cell to the right side. And now we're finally back to Mali City, and if we head to the shopping district of this place, all the way in the back right corner, we can find the community center. And if we check the back right corner of the community center, all the way down the hallway, there's gonna be another glimmering Zygarde cell. And if you remember, I said there was one more cell here on Route 11. We've got to head all the way down pretty much to Route 12. Only at nighttime we will find this one pretty much in the middle of the path. Which finally brings us to Mount Hokulani, the home of Captain Sophocles' trial, and if we head inside of the Little Chubster's observatory, we can see that there is a Zygarde cell hidden at nighttime all the way on the left side. This dude seriously needs to do something about all these boxes though. There's one more cell to find here on Ula'ula Island. If you remember, during the daytime on the right side of the manor there was a cell, but this time at nighttime to the left, right by the red truck, we will find yet another cell. And that brings us to Akala Island. Over in the Royal Avenue, right by the Pokemon Center, we can find a Zygarde cell in the corner. And just a little further down the path in the Paniola Ranch, if you don't run into wild Pokemon like I did there, we can find yet another cell here at nighttime over and right by this ramp. So heading back to Hee City, there's one more cell here we can find right in front of the Ultra Dimensional Research Lab, if I'm remembering that name correctly, but right in the empty lot we can find another cell. And finally, we can get the cell in Coney City, which is found only at nighttime, right by the lady that will teach your Pikachu the exclusive Z-move and Volt Tackle as well. We can find another cell next to the trio of Pikas. So let's finally wrap this up with Melemele Island, and here in Hau'oli City, there's a pretty hard to miss cell only at nighttime, right by the Pokemon Center. And if we head down all the way to the Pokemon Trainer School, we can find yet another cell only at nighttime. If we head inside of the school, you will notice it laying on one of these little mats here, and we can pick up another cell. Finally, we head back to our hometown of Iki Town, even though our character lives a little bit, I guess, outside of it. But here we can not only find these two Team Skull Grunts and our buddy Hau, but tucked away in the corner behind this old man is yet another Zygarde cell. And last but certainly not least, if we head up the Mahalo Trail to the bridge where our entire adventure got started, we can of course cross over it now and get to the Ruins of Conflict, the home of Tapu Koko. And right outside, we can find our final Zygarde cell, which can be found either at day or nighttime, but I figured I'd leave it for last because it's kind of a special one. Now that does it for all of the Zygarde cells, but if you beat the game and become the champion of Alola like I recommended you do before starting this off, you might have noticed that when you start up the game again in your room, there's actually something special in there called a Zygarde Core, and there's actually 4 more of these in the game. And they're almost identical to the Zygarde cells, but they actually also allow you to teach Zygarde certain specific moves, so let's go get them. Of course, the first one is in your character's room, as we just saw, but if we head back to our hometown of Iki and over to this giant building here, which I believe is Kahuna Hala's house, we can not only sit on his chair, but if we check the room over on the right side, you will notice that there is actually a glowing red Zygarde core tucked away in this balcony. I think this is a balcony. Now the final 3 cores are actually each located on a different island, so starting off here in Coney City on Akala Island, if we head into Olivia's shop, we can actually go upstairs and visit Olivia's room itself, where she will tell us something quite interesting. Apparently, even though she's Kahuna, that doesn't mean she can't be a regular old woman, and apparently the totally normal single women of Alola keep a bunch of Stuffle toys in their house, as well as another Zygarde core in the corner. Miss Olivia, don't hesitate to give me a call if you ever feel a little lonely. Now over to Ula'ula we go, and it seems all the cores are actually found inside of the Kahuna's houses. So on Route 17 right outside of Po Town, we can find Kahuna Nanu's domain, which isn't really a house, more like a police station. And he seems to be a little bit lonely too. Seems Kahuna Nanu prefers the company of kitty cats. He's got a whole bunch of Alolan Meowths and another Zygarde core for us. And at long last, we've got the final Zygarde core located in Kahuna Hapu's house at the Ancient Pony Path. If we head to the right side here into what I'm assuming is her and her grandma's room, we can notice the final glimmering red Zygarde core right at the bedside. And that officially does it, guys. We've got every single Zygarde cell and core in the Alola region, so it is finally time to head to Route 16 and the Zygarde laboratory to put them all together. Now Zygarde's power is completely yours. Time for you to get to the heart of this mystery. Au revoir! But in order to do that, we've got to fly on over to Route 16 where that Zygarde research lab is located. So let's do it, Charizard! And here we are on Route 16 where, of course, the Zygarde laboratory is located right in here, and we can put together Zygarde cells and cores to create the perfect form. So I guess we've got to go to assembly here, select how you'd like to assemble Zygarde. We're of course going to be using the Zygarde cube only, I guess. Zygarde will be assembled with the cores and cells within the cube only. The 100% stored in the Zygarde cube will be used to assemble the unified Zygarde with the power construct ability. Yes, that is definitely okay. A new Zygarde has been assembled. It's the unified Zygarde with the power construct ability, and it's gone into its Pokeball. Wait a second. Oh, that's right. I guess it's gotta drop below half HP in order to transform into that other form, but we're gonna give this Zygarde a very appropriate nickname. Another character that actually has a perfect form, even though I guess this is called the 100% form, or complete form, something like that, but it is going to be none other than Cell from Dragon Ball Z. And there he is at half HP, so that ability should be kicking in any second now. Cell's power construct. There it is, all of the Zygarde cells come together, and we will go from 50% to 100%. The perfect form is here. Actually, it's complete form, but close enough. I believe we can actually teach our Zygarde attacks using the cube itself, so let's go ahead and use this item on our little Zygarde and let it change form, and never mind, I guess that's actually going to change him to the 10% form. That's a little bit weird. Let's try that again. Oh, learn move, there it is. Of course, now we've got all of the cores in here, so we've got Core Enforcer, 1000 Arrows, 1000 Waves, Extreme Speed, and Dragon Dance, so we're going to go ahead and teach it a couple of these attacks, mainly Core Enforcer, which is the super awesome looking move. Its animation is so cool, it's pretty much like a Z move for Zygarde himself without having to use a Z Crystal, and we're going to go ahead and give him that attack. But I do also want to give him a couple more, like the 1000 Arrow and 1000 Waves here, which are also unique attacks for Zygarde. It's okay, at least we can test out this other attack, 1000 Waves here, and hopefully the little Whimsicott here doesn't destroy us from half HP. From the half HP that we're at now. Oh, it's actually going for Solar Beam, which isn't even going to hit us right now, but as you guys can see, the 1000 Waves attack also traps the enemy, which is pretty awesome, and I spoke too soon. It looks like the ability is now kicking in. I thought maybe the little Cottony had to attack us first, but nope, there he is. Zygarde has transformed into the complete form, and as you can see, gained a whole bunch of HP off of it. Alright, well, let's go try out the Core Enforcer anyway, as apparently every form of Zygarde can use it, and here we go, boys. The Z move of Zygarde himself, even though it's not actually a Z move, but it literally makes a Z on the ground, so if you really think about it, it's the most Z move of them all. This is the true final form of this attack. In its complete form, Zygarde is going for the Core Enforcer. drawing that Z on the ground, and that actually doesn't do that much damage. Or not as much as I was hoping for, I guess. But I guess we can show off 1,000 waves in this form as well. Whoa! Did you guys see how that, like, little red snake kind of came out of it? That is a little weird, but finally we're going to take down that Hypno. And that is it for Zygarde complete form. So I hope you've enjoyed this little guide on all of the Zygarde Cell and Core locations, and a little showcase of Zygarde complete form himself. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Let me know in the comments what was the hardest Zygarde Cell to find in your opinion, and bonus points if somebody lets me know how many times I said Zygarde Cells in this video, including just now. And check out some of my other Sun and Moon videos. I've done a full Let's Play on the game, including where to find every legendary Pokemon and almost every battle in the game. There's still a couple more left to do, but I'm working on it, so stay tuned for more, and I'll see you next time on Pokemon Sun and Moon.